Okay, folks, let's chat real quick about open world gachas. I bumped into a couple videos, one recently by Hex Juice and a reaction from Fiction, where they were just brought up the concerns with the exhaustion from open world gacha games, Genshin and Wuthering Waves, and just that burned out feeling on the experience. And I have a take on it that, I want to get you guys' opinion on it, because I think the reason that those games in particular burn people out on their open worlds is just because of the way they did them. And I just want to demonstrate it because I don't want this to take very long. It's a simple point, but it's something that Genshin is littered with. So I picked this area in Fontaine because it exemplifies it greatly. So this puzzle, why would this be here? Like, literally, who made this? Who in the world would put this thing here? And why would Lumine, your main character, or Aether, touch this and do, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a video game thingy. It feels very... The world in Genshin, I keep doing that, the world in Genshin, it's so clear that the developer just filled it with busy work. It didn't quite break enough away from the gacha model of, well, we just give you ways to collect your things to collect, things to do. They didn't tie it to the narrative, and that's so important in an open world game, in an RPG, that you feel like you're actually playing the role. And nothing, I haven't done any of the exploration since Inazuma, because it just feels like auto-generated busy work from a developer, and it doesn't pull you more into the game or into the story. It doesn't enhance the environment like actual narrative would. See, like, that place might be interesting. That place over there might be interesting. I got so burned out on how boring most of it was and how kind of necessary all of the exploration felt for how boring it is. Like, why were those monsters there? Why is this idiot Fatui, or where'd they go? There's a Fatui walking down there, but there's nothing over here. There's no reason for it. You know what I mean? Like, everything is just plopped. Just plop, plop, plop. Why would this puzzle be here? And why would your main character do any of this stuff when they're looking for a missing person that they know where they are? They're in the abyss. And so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't really care. I'm not judging them. I'm just pointing it out that going forward, it's not good. Like, if you played other open world games like Elden Ring or Red Dead Revolver or The Witcher, they're not constantly reminding you that you're playing a video game. Like, everything that's in the world should be relevant to the story and to the character. Like, it's a role playing, so I should be doing what the character is doing, and I should be escaping my life and being immersed in that world, even if I'm not LARPing. It's just literally the point of a role playing game. It's the same thing like watching a good show. If you're watching Game of Thrones and they keep pulling out cell phones, it's like it's immersion breaking, and so it kills your escapism. It suspends your disbelief, as it were, right? Or if you could just see the set. And so you're like, oh yeah, I can always see the cameras recording, and I can see where the set ends. It's going to be really hard to see that show impactfully, and that's what Genshin did so much throughout its exploration. They said, all right, give them stuff to do, and they just plopped, you're popping balloons, you're floating through circles, nothing that had any relevance besides gamer needs gems, and of course that's boring. And maybe that was on purpose, because for me, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to get the $5 monthly pass and get 3 hours of my life back, because $5 is worth a lot less than 3 hours of my life, right? So maybe that was the point, but either way, it definitely did make it exhausting, especially if you've been doing all the exploration since 1.0 to now. Yeah, I can imagine you'd be pretty exhausted. Just so it's clear, I'm not just bashing Hoyoverse. I think ZZZ is a spectacular example of doing it right. So it's not like this crazy, it's not requiring so much overhaul or development time. Like, there's no need to make an excuse for it. They just needed to put more thought into it, because ZZZ nails it, right? So take the gacha in Genshin. It doesn't make sense, right? They never made sense story-wise why you're collecting people, because no one is traveling with the traveler. That's why everyone refers to them as just the traveling Paimon. They never refer to them as a crew. If they're not in the story immediately, the traveler's on their own. Especially like Jean and Seiyu and Chiori, they all have jobs, Yulan, right? So everything that you're doing as a player is generally pulling you out of your role as the MC. And that disassociate, that has an effect. It makes the world feel like it's completely detached from the game. Now in ZZZ, however, your job is that you need hollow investigators, and you work with them. And you're like the signal search, you're like trying to get these contacts with these powerful investigators and get them to work with you. So it even makes sense if you lose, like if it's just like them saying no, like you just didn't make the deal. It's that whole, I'm like, it's very well thought out. It's very immersive. All the stuff that you have to find, the collectibles, are all relevant to the character. Getting coffee instead of stamina. It's like, yeah, the player needs stamina, but the character needs coffee so they can go to work. They make their money by running their shop. So when you're setting that up, all of that is immersive. Like, that's the best thing about ZZZ. They really nailed the immersion. And I think the key element is that they just did less, right? This would be so much better without, you could fill it with enemies, sure, just fill it with, animals. But all this busy work, it ruined it. It killed it, and it's exhausting. And yeah, I could see that if you did it all, you'd be exhausted. So that's my take. I think Wuthering Waves copied Genshin a little too closely. I do think they did a little bit better with certain puzzles, like the one where you're helping the scientists because you're a resonator and you can use your terminal to trace the wires for them. Those puzzles are fun. You know, doing target practice when you're on the military outpost, it's like, it's not complicated. Just make sure that if anything you're putting in the game, you're tying it to the role you're playing. You don't just let it end up looking like it's auto-generated by AI or, you know, Unreal, whatever the automation thing is that just plops objects in the environment, because that's what most of the puzzles and most of the stuff in Genshin's overworld felt like. And it was about as adventurous as looking for your socks. So maybe, you know, I'd love to hear what people think. I think if they did it right, it wouldn't be so exhausting, because I still love open world games. It's probably most of my favorite experiences, like whether it was an MMO or my first open world game, which was Trakan Ancient Gates 20 years ago. That when I'm immersed in a world like that, like even ZZ now, like I don't even think it's that great of a game, but I love visual novels because of that immersive story. And you know, I love that. So that's my favorite part about ZZ. I think if it was advertised as a visual novel, probably do a little bit better, or maybe not. It's probably fine, but either way, you get what I'm saying. So let me know your thoughts down below. Going forward, I think there's plenty that they can do with open worlds, as long as they do less and make sure that if it's not tied to the narrative, it's not pulling you in, don't put it in. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.